Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at the new standard shape paddles from the Honolulu Pickleball Company, the J3K and the J3K Pro. The J3K and J3K Pro are both Gen 2 thermoform paddles in the standard shape. They're both 16 by 8 with 5.5 inch handles and 16mm cores. This is the same shape as the previous J3 model, but unlike the carbon fiber surface that one has, the J3K Pro and J3K use Kevlar surfaces. The difference between the latter two is similar to what you see in their other models. The Pro version uses a tighter Kevlar weave than the non-Pro, but we'll get more into that later. For the swing weights and twist weights, we got 115 and 7.1 for the J3K, 114 and 7.05 for the J3K Pro, and for reference, the J3 we have is 112 and 6.99. Even though the Honolulu Pickleball Company only advertises that the difference between the J3 and the other models is the face surface, there must be some change in the construction itself, since at least for the ones I've tried, both the J3K and Pro models are a bit heavier to swing. In fact, for standard shapes overall, both of these are on the higher end for swing weight, along with the Rhombus R2 Pulsar FX, where the swing weights begin to approach those of hybrid shaped paddles like the 6-0 Double Black Diamond. On the other hand, the twist weights remain about average for what you see in a standard shape paddle, which means there must be more weight distribution towards the head of the paddles rather than the sides. This leads to both the J3K and J3K Pro having more power on drives than the other standard shape paddles on the market. I would put the J3K Pro at the top for the most power, followed by the Rhombus R2 Pulsar FX, and then the J3K. Normally, standard shape paddles are the weakest in terms of power for drives, but the heavier swing weights of the J3K and Pro make these paddles more powerful where it reaches the levels of some hybrid paddles. As for the pop, this is where the differences in the Kevlar weaves comes into play. The Honolulu Pickleball Company's previous Kevlar models, like the J2K and J7K, both had a bit more of a plusher feel compared to most carbon fiber faces on the market, and this holds true for the J3K. Similar to the Sparus Apollo, it's a paddle that starts off a bit stiffer, but after a few play sessions, it breaks in a bit and softens up. It's a bit softer feeling than the J3, and I found it similar in feel to the Volair Mach 2 Forza 16mm. Now the J3K Pro model is the opposite. The tighter Kevlar weave gives it more pop, similar to the effect we've seen on the J2K Pro versus the J2K. The J3K Pro is actually the stiffest standard shape paddle on the market right now, and it's very similar in feel to the J2K Pro. But like the J3K, both these standard shape paddles are slightly quicker to swing with wider sweet spots, but they lack the reach and power of the J2 models. As for the J3, the one I have is in between the J3K and J3K Pro for face stiffness and pop, so it's in between the two in terms of control, but for power, the J3 is actually lower than both. In terms of spin, all three felt similar and have that high spin that's comparable to other Gen 2 paddles. Both the J3K and J3K Pro are very solid paddles in the standard shape Gen 2 market. While they are on the heavier side for maneuverability, they're both up near the top for power. The J3K is on the softer end of the spectrum for its feel, making it above average for control because of the more plush feel it has that's comparable to a Volair Mach 2 Forza. The J3K Pro has the highest pop out of all the Gen 2 standard shapes, and when it loses in control, it makes up for it with more firepower at the net. They're both paddles that are different from the previous J3 model and have their own place in the standard shape market. Both are also affordable, with the J3K retailing for $155 and the J3K Pro retailing for $165, which drops down to around $140 and $149 after a code, making them easy recommendations from me. If you do want to pick either of these paddles up, I've added links in the video description below.
Okay, so... Oh, God.